Okay, in
So
my
you
case,
lost your lump sum and now you're looking at it.
well, yeah, you're poverty, you're living with the homeless on the street.
That's
No, both the employee and my son have been in the business for a long time, and actually, they were taking on more and more of the responsibility over time. Because I knew if your business to have value, it must run without you. So you disappeared for 3 months, you come back, it's still there. And so I always generated more responsibility to everybody over time to get to that point. So, whether I'm there or not, it'll run.
Okay.
So, I know it'll run in the future, you kinda know that, you know who you're dealing with, I guess.
Is some of it a little bit like you're saying, do I sell it or do I succeed? I feel like some of it comes down to the owner, like what's your legacy? What do you want
See,
to do with the business?
that's why
So
selling
that's,
is just like, cause it's somebody else has your baby.
Well, yeah, it's.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've had a large constructor try to buy my company a number of times. And that's not what I want. And so I feel like as the time goes on, the people that have built this company with me, I feel like at least as an option, that they would have sort of the first right to put themselves in the game, so that it has, I mean, we take care of 17 families in the little town Haliburton, that's a lot. So if it stays in its family, now whether I stay as a CEO or, I have some role there, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's not really about money, which is not good to say, but, it's more about legacy. It's more about, I didn't know I'd have this monster, and, I want to keep it alive now, and I want it to keep going on for the people that are in it. I think it's a really emotional decision.
If I may say so, I'm in the middle of this. There's emotions that are gonna hit you out of nowhere that you never even thought about. And there's gonna be emotions that hit the people that are taking over. It's a real emotional, process, more so than I even ever thought. I'm a, hey guy, do this, everything, oh, wow. It was easier getting divorced than to go through this.
Well, sure, because you had less to work with. I have a question, and so so Sandy and I are symbiotic, I'd say we're symbiotic kind of industries. So we have a number of dealerships, so we will resell goods, it's probably really appropriate for you, question to you is, so to access these buying levels that we have been able to, get over the years where we become stocking dealer.
Yeah.
We sell a lot of high-end goods. We're buying 67% real retail, and then so it's a really good, opportunity and profit. Have you, in your journey, seen that as a value? Not just the John Deere dealership, but when you're buying a company, if it's got that account already, it's got its terms, it's got all those things.
Yeah, couple of things, like the John Deere rewards dealers based on how much they buy, so it's not so much a discount up front, it's at the back end. So obviously, the more purchases we pull together, there is a larger amount that comes from it, so that covers off some of the expenses that taking on additional dealerships. You can cover it off based on what you're going to get from John Deere on it as well. But we also see kind of the same as what you're seeing, different levels. If you're buying more from a company, all of a sudden you get a better percentage discount. And we see that on different things that we buy too. It's just, what the biggest one that we save on to this day is still our biggest saving is insurance, actually. Insurance for the buildings business vehicles. When you look at our swath, it's pretty wide, so there's no way that a tornado is gonna come through and hit the Milton store, and hopefully not hit the Kingston store at the same time. So therefore, it kind of spread out the insurance piece, and that's one of the biggest gains that we've had, is having multiple locations. The insurance cost hasn't gone up that much. To go from 50 employees up to 200, there's a lot of vehicles on the road, but still it's pretty marginal what our insurance went up compared to everything else that we did. So that's a savings, for instance, as well too.
Alright, we want to do one of our topics, that's great. That's good, we're just going around, and so I was gonna say, the next one I was gonna jump to sort of more of a staff thing, so what is the reaction of acquired personnel to being acquired? I said, so I just had a few notes. I said, in my experience, don't expect automatic gratitude or cooperation during the process. People are wary of you. You need to earn their trust. People generally don't like change, and this represents a lot of change. And then sometimes companies that are for sale because they're not doing well. Often they're not doing well in part because of the dysfunctional culture of the employee base, and those can be really hard to change. So, and they can also, the more dysfunctional it is, the more pushback you may get to changes you're trying to do in the organization to get things going in the right direction. Aaron, what's your thoughts on it?
I find like it's a double-edged sword. There's a resistance to change, or this company's being purchased, what's going to happen? You do have this window of buying for sure. If you want new policy and new way of doing things, that is the time to start with that. So, in this situation, I know the employees that purchased with the landscape architecture firm, and so I think we were both known entities, and our firms do different work, but at similar stages of our design process and construction process. So I think there was that trust there. But dealing with the legacy founding owner, and obviously the culture that's formed around that company and them in particular, and navigating that as a new owner is challenging, right? Two people, two men dragon. Because in our situation, I want to keep that person as long as I can. They're intrinsic to the organization, but it's a challenge.
But isn't the culture part of the reason why you selected that firm? Like, I hear there's high value in companies with strong culture. And that buyers really value good people, good policies, good culture, like that there's an intangible value to that that's not on the P&L.
Well, just quickly, maybe a good project manager, that might be able to drive projects, get them done, bring in profit. That doesn't mean on the culture side that those two are going to necessarily translate. For me, the purchase, I knew, the chops of this organization, what I could do, so I probably didn't pull back the curtain as much on the company culture, so that for me it's felt like, and again, so this is a learning experience for me on the acquisition side. It's a learning process, and I'm learning the culture over a period of time. From my experience, it wasn't as much the culture as the reputation of the organization.
And I would say, culture is going to come into performance. Like, if it's a strong performing, there should be a correlation between a strong culture and good financial performance and historical performance. But you are hamstrung. You can't, if you're selling your company, you're not going to have potential buyers coming and talking to your people, right? You don't announce you're sold until you're sold. So when you're looking at a company, you don't even get to really see that, right? You get to see the financials. You might talk to some key people, right? You're gonna assess the company. You might get to look at the inventory and facilities and whatever, but you're not going to get to talk to the people generally, because that's one of the biggest things there is like, nobody says a word about this until the deal is done, because it upsets a lot of people. And again, I'm sure there's legal reasons for it too, right, the lawyers would tell you. And what kind of your question, what was your question?
I was just, if there's legal reasons, that kind of answers the question, but I was just wondering why you wouldn't be open with your employees about it. What is the benefit of not saying anything, other than perhaps respecting the buyer? What is there, why wouldn't you, right? Like, why wouldn't you wanna tell everybody that there's gonna be a change of ownership and introduce them to keep those employees in the company?
But until the deal is done, it creates a lot of unsettling,
Right.
right? Who's this person? You can't even say who it is, and you're not even sure if they're gonna pull the trigger, right? So once you do,
Right.
we could talk about the steps to do once you do that, but,
The other thing too is if I was buying your company and you went and told your staff ahead of time, all of a sudden they might get nervous and they might go looking for a different job. Well, when I was buying your company, I had plans for that person to stick around and work in that company. So all of a sudden it devalues it then as well. So it's not a fun thing. And that's one of the things I had written down here was that the message that you deliver to those employees the day that it gets delivered is basically the way I was taught was think of 3 things that the spouse is going to ask that person when they get home that night. So, do you still have a job? Are you still going to get paid? And are your benefits still good? And that's going to quell a lot of the first questions that people have basically is answering those 3 things, because if all of you got pulled into the room and all of a sudden we told you that we just bought you, everybody kind of goes, oh, didn't see that coming. So you got to be prepared to answer some of those questions to kind of calm them down so that they do come back to work the next day then too. So
we are in the middle of that, and we have told our employees that we're starting this process, but we're keeping it vague and we're keeping it in the future. Whether it's vague and in the future is not the point. But as far as the employees are concerned, it's vague and it's in the future.
Okay.
yeah, and that's a fair point. Like it's not like it's top secret that they usually have a sense of what's going on. That's for sure. You don't have to come out and say it, but being vague is the proper way to go at it. That's for sure.
You're doing the internal succession if you're in a scenario where you're doing an acquisition or buy, you know, and you're kind of speaking from the buyer's perspective, you know, you don't want to lose those employees. Thinking from the seller's perspective, possibly, do you want to dilute, you know, do you want everybody knowing that your company is possibly on the market? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but probably you're
Absolutely
diluting,
not.
right.
right? You don't start losing this customer base.
Thinking, okay, what's gonna happen?
You know, I've had my employees say in this process, like, thanks for telling us that, because we were wondering, because there's so much knowledge concentrated in these 2 guys, and you're getting older, like, they're not dumb, our employees see it. And so I think that we introduced the topic for the specific purpose of fishing. Like, hey, is anyone interested? Just so you know, this is like a 10-year plan now. If you're interested in being an owner of this company, think about it. And we did that for a few years. It's 9 years, it's 8 years, 7 years. Well, I stopped counting down now. We'll start with part of consultants. And we're working towards this guy, because when the account gets too low, you get accountable for the account. And so I think so far the response has been good. And by keeping it vague and in the future, we're not getting any fear or pushback. In fact, we're getting the opposite. We're getting people happy to talk about it in a generic sense, which helps us.
It's interesting, like we're in the same company, so we have the same culture of like, why wouldn't you tell people? So, I mean, I'm talking about it constantly, I'm like, you know, if we get this right, when one day this is your company, we've got all these procedures figured out, we've talked about it, we've done it as a team. I feel like to your sort of strategy, it's good. It's never like a bombshell. It's never. But I think that's maybe just who we are too. And I'm not freaking taking over the John Deere world, so that's very different, right? I understand, and I'm not buying anybody else's company.
Yeah.
I really just want to not die and my company go away.
Yep.
Really, like, truthfully, it's that simple. I just don't wanna think like, I raised this child and now it's gone. So,
I mean, I generally agree with what you're saying. I'm dealing with it on the sales side and just regional conversations. I do it with caution, rubber's gonna be, hit the road when you actually get to that point and think of talking about what the sale is and what it looks like. And I just caution, how much information do you give them, when you don't even totally know what's gonna help yourself, right? Until you get to that point, so that people get an idea. So just a caution.
So just for clarity, Aaron, you said you're in the sales side, I don't know that people know, you're involved in two companies, you talked about the one that you acquired recently, there's another one that you are exiting, is that?
10 years, so looking at it,
Yeah, so he's coming at it from two perspectives.
Both ways.
And we're gonna, be mindful
How are
of
we
the
doing
time.
with your talking points here?
We're number 2, we just finished 2.
How many, Grant?
So we're covering a whole bunch of stuff.
Hey, but it's a compliment because you've created an environment where people are
For sure.
like,
Well, yeah, it's great that we have,
not sitting here just not doing anything.
yeah, we have 8 panelists here, it's great. And I just had one last one, was, like, with the time left, because Aaron referred to it, and it comes to a bunch of things. So I have mine was called, why is recontracting of acquired employees, the employees of the acquired company a critical step? So there's a thing called recontracting, and that's what Aaron was alluding to, and that's what Ian was alluding to, and that's what we've gotten to a fine process with contractors, and it's kind of inspired me going out and having a company, because I've learned so much about this stuff doing those mergers. But it takes care of so many things. So if you are acquiring, or if you're being acquired, this is the job of the acquiring company. And if you see it not being done well, it's their problem. But this is what, when you acquire a company, and I don't want to be too complicated. There's a share purchase and there's an asset purchase, right? So if you buy the shares of that company, you're buying kind of that quote, you're buying 10122 Ontario Limited, and you're getting, and you get the building, if you've got that, but still these employees, everything comes with it. And so those are automatically your employees, and you need to recontract them, get them on a new contract, but they haven't changed employers. Let me think now. But you have to get them on a new contract with your company, so that it protects you, so that you have all these advantages of getting those people who've been there for 30 years. And there might be somebody who's there for 30 years making a lot of money who's not going to work at your organization. And you don't want to pay them 2 years of severance because you didn't have to do that. So recontracting resolves that. But the biggest, most generic thing, or the most important thing it addresses what Ian was saying, is like, what are you going to get paid? Are your benefits starting? What are your benefits? What is your investment plan? Every single detail. And then we're reconciling every single thing. So they're going to come out of the woodwork saying, I had $50 a month in gas money. I had 12 weeks of vacation, believe it or not, right? All these things, and you got to ground, and you got to reconcile them all and say, we'll allow that exception to carry forward, or no, we're going to buy you out of that exception. And everybody's going to have a rock solid contract, so they know exactly what their terms are with the new company. And you're going to also introduce the thing that it's going to come with a new policy manual. So you're going to have, we work really closely to reconcile the policies, and you have to have so that's why it's amazing to have a fully formed policy manual that's clear with your organization. When you are buying another organization, you're like, this is going to be your new policy manual. You may go in and reconcile some things. You had 6 days, we had 4 6 days, we're going to move 5, and whatever you reconcile that, but they're going to sign off on that agreement and that policy manual as a pair of things, and they're going to know everything. They're going to know that they are now going to be working on an on-call schedule, and they weren't on an on-call schedule before, right? Something really unpopular, but we're also, when you're recontracting, they're going to be getting additional money to sign it and cover that, etc. But it's this beautiful button-down process that protects you legally, reduces your severance and termination cost liability for when you have to make changes to that staff going forward. Gets everybody on the same page, gets every conversation out of the way. And again, and people have signed off on it, and it's the one thing that you can do, right? right? You're gonna try and get people on your accounting system, on your processes and everything, but that stuff's gonna take time. This stuff can be done day one, and you show that you're in charge, you're the leader, and that's very important to me as a first step going in, not to be autocratic, but just to say, like, who we bought you, you know, who's wagging the dog here, this is we've been preparing for this is how things are gonna work going forward. And so it's that process and then, so then going through, then Aaron's scenario, and I think there's been a scenario with rejectors as well, where it's an asset purchase.
Or asset purchase, the account said, do an asset purchase, benefits the buyer, seller, it's more tax efficient for the buyer.
Right, okay. And then, in that case, the employees are still stuck with the seller unless they agree to an employment agreement with the buyer. So the seller's like, so the selling agreement is like, you better make every one of my employees at least an equal offer to what they're doing. Because if they don't go with you, I'm stuck with this 20-year employee and I got no company anymore, right? So that's in the sales agreement, and that's what we do, because we're gonna make sure that we get, because you want the sale to go through. So you're gonna be like, oh gosh, this person's not signing, we are gonna have to come up to get them to sign, because we want them to come this far, so we're gonna get this done. But in that case, it's like a legal requirement to get them off of the books of the one company to the other. And then you get all those advantages, and they're on the rock solid contract, which again, severance and termination is critical. So that was the difference, and that has to happen. You know, with you guys, we're marching that out in quick order, right? Within some dates and whatever, right? So,
In the end, it almost needs to become like a legal step, right? Because these things are happening consecutively, but in order.
yeah,
Yeah, you know, the last minute here, the lawyer was saying, well, you don't have an employment agreement signed, how can you do this?
right.
Yeah, it's tricky. Maybe you would clutch in that situation.
Yeah.
For sure.
The other thing too is it's not something you just email out and like, hey, all you guys, you're gonna get it at the same time. What we do is our process is we sit down and spend 20 minutes, and it's a chance for us to get to know you, go through the terms, and like it sets the rules the same, and the employee knows the rules, as an employer, we know what the rules are, everybody's on the same page basically, so it takes a bunch of time if you're going in to have 25 conversations that take half an hour each, but it shows the employee that you're interested in them, and then second of all, it clears the air on a lot of things then too, so it's good time to like invest just basically to start people out and make sure that they're on the same page then too, so.
And they'll tell you things, I found, employees will tell you things when you're about to acquire a company, they would probably never tell you that you're not, so I think you'll learn.
That's good.
Right, yeah. And then it just dovetails nicely too with the process that we have. We would have a human resource information system, whatever, piece of software, right? Where the employees have their profile, and that's where immediately day one they go and bang, they've got 6.3 vacation days left, they got it, right? So there's just, everything is seamless, right? They come in, they see who their supervisor is, everything is seamless, the policy manual's there. Then you get the next step is you get the benefits plan, you get that stuff going, and all this stuff is pretty rote for us now, but get all that stuff, it's stuff that can administratively be done, we do it so quickly and so rote, and that's taking a lot of frustrations away from people, right, and their spouses and whatever too, right, so, and then allowing you to focus on the operational stuff that's where the money's made, right, that's where the transition's made, but that HR stuff can be done right up front and has so many enduring benefits, to get it done in every way and really well, so many annoyances of people
I think for us, having a workforce minutes, it's like a separate third party, helps build trust, knowing that there's sort of an independent party who's got the expertise to navigate, because again, navigating the acquisition of staff and bringing on board would have been a bit of a daunting task. So I think from my experience, it helps in that process for sure.
When you're in the process, there's so many things happening as you get closer to that closing that you're dealing with lawyers, and we're able to hand that HR piece off to Grant, where he basically is the one going through saying, okay, this guy's got 4 weeks vacation, you're only allowed 3 weeks vacation, how are we gonna sort that out? And he's got it kind of takes that employee piece and then lets them do it basically, and we're focused on close the deal, getting it done, all the lawyer stuff, and then we can swing right back in and do the employee stuff right afterwards, because somebody else has been working on that then too, that can kind of help us and support us there now too, so.
So what are your fees to do this?
Oh.
Sorry, is that right to the point?
We hope that they're reasonable, yeah, so, but I can certainly tell you that, for sure, offline or whatever, but yeah, our job though is to say I guess the difference is with Ian, that if they didn't have us, they would have a full-time HR person, but our job is to be, a full-time HR kind of capacity, at much less than the price of a full-time person, so.
What is the name of your company?
Workforce Wings.
Okay.
I've got some stuff over here. This is not a sales venue, but
So to be clear, there are 4 people in this room who are grant sponsors.
Just not us?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, really?
yeah, it wasn't.
Can I ask you, so, when you're buying a company, if there's employees that are going to be like redundant, you've already got people that do that job, how do you let them go? Does somebody have to pay the severance, say you've been there for like 20 years, does somebody have to, either the seller or the buyer has to pay them out?
Yes, so you would say, you would be part of the deal where you say, you can't use this person, so either I'm gonna pay the $100,000 and I'm gonna pay you $100,000 less for your company, or you get rid of them, and then we'll base the price on them not being around when the time comes.
Oh, just, did everybody know that?
I know because he told me.
Okay.
Not to be draconian, but if they do come across to your company and you wanna get to know them, we do that recontracting, and then that $100,000, if they were a 20-year employee, right, turns into a much lesser number because of the contract they're on. So you bring them in, that severance termination bill, that could have been 100.
Yeah.
Turns into more like 10 or 12.
Oh, so you're doing a contract like it's like he's on a contract, he's not like an employee?
No, sorry, it's an employment agreement, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Randy teach you an awful lot about this stuff, but I never knew,
Yeah,
so.
we would have.
Well, yeah, are you talking about like doing a dismissal as opposed to a
Exactly.
severance?
Well, no, it's the same, whatever, however you end the employment agreement, you would be, if it ends, we assume that they're not on a good contract coming into this, because a lot of organizations don't have it. If you're on a good contract where you've limited them to ESA amount of severance, right, which is like a maximum of 2 months, right, and it's, well, those contracts, the language has to have changed over time, but you have them, if you brought them over, put them on that contract, that 100 would turn into 50 or whatever, right? And so then you could terminate them, but you could also work with them for a little while and see if you like them, right?
And
Maybe that-
I'm just thinking if it's you're doubling up on tasks, you only get one guy with
For sure.
see, and you don't need none, so like,
Yeah, no, that's
what do
right.
you do with that?
Yeah.
Do you have contracts with your employees?
No,
Yeah.
they're on.
I didn't either. I didn't even know about it.
So regular employees, you have contracts?
It's a really good, it's critical for that flexibility, for down, that's our job with Workforce Wins, is we're always keeping that contract fresh, so when you can have a contract, but then 10 years pass, they change their role, they change all these things, and then that contract might not be as valuable anymore, because the lawyer who went to when you terminate them, and only give me a say, might say, well, so many things have changed this contract. So when a person gets a promotion, when they move from hourly to salary, when they move from, shop floor to management, we do an agreement on changes to terms, which is an addendum to that agreement, so all those things are lined up in their system, so we keep that contract rock solid all the way along, and so if and when you do that termination, it provides huge flexibility, right? Because you can't afford $100,000 psychologically, or, you know, even financially, right? You know, and again, it's not to be draconian, you can be more generous if you wanted, but you need to have that flexibility because your liability is mounting every year that your workforce stays on.
The purchaser's gonna wanna know the risk, you know, when you look at all the employees and their tenure and wanted to know, okay, what is this risk, you know, if this thing goes belly up, what am I paying in severance? So it's part of the process, and I think the purchaser may not sell it is key, they just wanna sell it. But if you're in a buy-sell scenario, the buyers are gonna know what
And I think,
the risk is.
correct me if I'm wrong, you can do this now if you offer them a new benefit.
Yeah.
So you can reopen, cause I only had letters of employment, and then when I terminated a senior manager, and I didn't have a termination clause, because it kind of shit my pants. But I learned a lot through that, with low risk, but I redid all the contracts, or I did contracts from the letters of employment, like letters of offer. And in there was a robust, clear and concise termination clause. And so, and what I did to react it, like for people that were already in contract, because as the company evolved, so did my systems, I offered a bonus day. So 1 paid day off a year of the corporate bonus day. So that was a benefit that I offered, and we didn't execute that day until all the contracts were done. So everybody had signed the contract.
Yeah, that's called consideration, right? And you have to give some, because they're giving something up, right? They're giving something up to sign the new agreement, so you have to give them something. And there's some parameters around it, but that's exactly the idea. So when we go in, when we take on a new client, we're dealing with 3 companies right now. One of the first steps is to do the recontracting campaign for the whole organization. And it works well because if people don't have to sign it. So if you offer, typically we can go 2% increase, because that makes sure you get 100% guarantee. That's been our experience. But then if somebody doesn't take it, they just don't get the 2%, right? And so, no harm, no foul, you know, you elected not to sign the agreement, and then you've got, your risk went from 30 people who write contracts to 1 person who write contracts. So your risk went from there to there, right? So we do that with all of our new clients. If it's the preference of the owner, and usually it is, because it's an opportunity for them to say, hey, we got a new HR system and people working with us, and this is an important step to do